Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back. I am so excited because today we are going to be talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I can't believe I've actually watched it. I can't believe we've actually watched it, and we can finally talk about the first two episodes. Now, just keep in mind, we are going to be talking about episodes 1 and 2. They both released on Thursday. I watched them back to back on Thursday, so if you have not seen both of them, you might want to watch those and then come back because we will be talking spoilers. But oh my gosh, guys, just right off the bat, I am really impressed with this. Now, I know I talked to my dad and I talked to my brother. They had some different feelings about it, but I was actually pleasantly surprised coming into this. Now, I'm going to explain why this episode or these episodes delighted me so much right off the bat. And one thing that I did notice, though, was it kind of does feel a little stylistically different from The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Just a teensy little bit, because, you know, I had talked previously about all the Marvel series and how they just feel so different from like WandaVision down to Moon Knight. So I was like, okay, we've got a Star Wars series coming from a completely new team, you know, not really not Filoni. So how is this going to happen? How is it going to turn out? How's it going to work? And I think it has worked wonderfully. That's just my opinion. So let me explain in the best way possible why this show has appealed to me so much. And I think it is, for me, this characterization of Obi-Wan Kenobi and the journey that he's gone on. Now, we started off with this nice little recap of the prequels. That was really interesting. I like how they did that. And now we see what he's like today, you know, in between episodes 3 and 4, just, you know, just making a simple, honest, earnest living on Tatooine, kind of watching over Luke in his spare time and just like legitimately laying low. But what's really selling it for me is kind of just this getting to dig deeper. You know, it's like when you really start to zoom in onto someone's life, you know, kind of this day-to-day minutia sort of thing. It's like, okay, you know, you're filling in those gaps, and to me it's quite interesting to put a critical eye on that. Now, specifically with Obi-Wan, we know what's going on right now is that he's recovering, even still 10 years later, from all that stuff that's happened on Mustafar, seeing Anakin turn, seeing the rise of the Empire, and losing his best friend and, you know, all of his Jedi colleagues, right? So all that stuff still weighs on his mind, and it's just so fascinating to me as a character study, and seeing, okay, how does he balance this need to kind of protect Luke and even, you know, later on Leia, while also trying to keep a low profile? Like, how does he do that? You know, what are his priorities at this time? And we see that, you know, because of his love for Anakin and for Padme, it's like he's gonna go the extra mile, especially as well for Bail Organa, who he also cares for, to protect Leia and to go on this mission and basically put his life on the line, you know, risk exposing himself just so that he can help Anakin and Padme and, you know, the Organa's child. I really love that. And I recall reading about Deborah Chow, who's been, you know, running this whole thing and talking about this is really going to be about the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew how much I cared about that relationship until I got to this series and the way they're painting, you know, this sort of bittersweet conflict that Obi-Wan has going on within him, and that's driving the narrative. And I have to, for that, give it up to Disney Plus. I'd call this the power of Disney Plus, because for people like me who just really love, I don't know if you want to call it character studies or things like that, these deep dives, Disney Plus affords you the ability to do that. They allow you to take characters who have had, you know, varying degrees of screen time, and then, like I said, just kind of zoom in on their lives and begin to study the inner mechanisms of their mind. So, for example, the very first thing that did that for me was when WandaVision aired. If we're talking about the MCU, right? Wanda in the MCU, been, you know, a decent character. She's had some things happen, but not enough to have made me care for her, to be quite honest. In the movies, I wasn't a fan because they just didn't give her enough to do, enough to say, you know, yada. So when it came to WandaVision and that progression of seeing, you know, her motives, her fears, what she loves, and all that stuff, it was really like, oh wow, I really, really like Wanda because they're finally giving her something to do. Now, I also kind of felt the same way about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, he's just this big Star Wars figure who's been in the canon since the very beginning, and you know, it's like, how can you not like Obi-Wan Kenobi? But I didn't feel, I guess, an attachment to the character. That's why I was excited about the show, but I was kind of very blasé. My expectations were kind of here because I was like, well, I'm not really attached to Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm not a stan. I happen to really, really appreciate him. I appreciate Ewan McGregor. But after seeing this show and allowing them to dig deeper into his character, and having him form all these emotional connections and anchors, or kind of really tying it all together more so, that's when I was like, okay, boom, I'm sold. So the next biggest selling point for me in this was baby Leia, or kid Leia. I guess she's not a baby. She's supposed to be 10, which I get it. She's so teeny tiny. I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely started shedding some real thug tears when she appeared on screen. I don't know why, because I like to pretend like I'm not this super duper huge Star Wars fan, and to tell that to all the pops and Star Wars books behind me in every single video that I've made about Star Wars. But you know, when it comes to the characters, I'm like, I've never felt attached to them in an emotional way. I'm just like, oh, I really enjoy the story, I really enjoy the plot. And then here comes Kid Leia, and I'm like, oh my god, is that baby Leia? Is that Alderaan? Do we actually get to see Alderaan on screen? Not gonna lie, that really did it for me. Shameless to say, and I'm not gonna be embarrassed to admit it, but I actually did know, you know, when you dig through some of the leaks, I did know that Leia in some way, shape, or form was going to be included in the plot of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I swear I've seen some stuff where it was like, she's going to have a bigger role than you think, but that just kind of escaped my mind. I just knew that we would see her, but to what capacity, I didn't imagine she would kind of be the whole driving force behind the plot. Now, I've been thinking about the personification of Kid Leia. Like, she's a little sassy and a little too smart for her own good. And I guess it's on brand, you know, like what would Leia Organa be like as a child? I guess so. I think it's kind of, there's a little bit of cheesiness though. The actress is adorable playing Kid Leia, but it's like, it's giving off one of those like Disney Channel little sisters who always has like a smart quip to make or something, or like, is it Michelle Tanner or whoever the Olsen twins played in Full House? Like, it kind of reminds me of that. It's like a little cheesy, and especially for her to go on like that, on and on. But I don't know, I guess I'm enjoying the time that we're getting to spend with little Leia, if I can say anything. And I kind of do like this idea of exploring Leia as, you know, kind of the main focus of this. I would like to see a little bit more of little Luke, just because I want to, you know, like, gotta collect them all. But yeah, I think it's cute that they're putting the focus on her. And I heard something where it's like, you know, oh my gosh, this show hates Luke or something like that. I don't necessarily think that's the problem. I think that this show was just saying, hey, why don't we turn the lens on Leia for once and kind of see what she's up to. She's a Skywalker twin too. She's pretty important. So I like that. And you know, if you want more Luke Skywalker, watch The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett or literally everything else. And I love Luke. So I love them all, but I definitely like to see them giving more weight to Leia. I think it's really nice, and especially seeing again the relationship and how Obi-Wan I don't know, forges that bond with her. And at this rate, I'm like, oh, well, it makes sense now why Leia would name her child Ben. You know, at first it was like, why would she, you know, to what does she owe Obi-Wan Kenobi? But now, at least, you know, she kind of owes her life to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, on top of that, I said I love seeing Alderaan. I also love seeing Bail Organa and her mother. It really is just filling in all the gaps. And not only that, but I love to see this merging together of the prequel trilogy to the original trilogy. Just the whole kind of bleeding into one another has been really fascinating for me. Okay, so here's the thing. Why I'm loving a lot of things about this series. There's one big thing that I am hung up on right now, and that is the whole thing with Third Sister, and specifically her as an Inquisitor. I don't think I mind the idea of Inquisitors so much, you know, these Jedi hunters. But I realized I didn't even describe the plot. You don't need the plot described to you. We've already watched the episode, right? Obi-Wan is being hunted by Inquisitors, and this third sister, slash Reva is her name, really has it out for him. And so she devised this whole plan to catch Obi-Wan Kenobi by kidnapping Leia and hoping that that would be the bait to kind of, you know, lure him in. And she was right. But there's just, I guess the problem that I have with the whole dynamic with third sister and Obi-Wan is just the fact that it's this runner chaser dynamic, and to me that just never feels very compelling, because the hero never gets the chance to really, I guess, show themselves, right? Instead of trying to stop the bad guy, they're running away from the bad guy, so you're not really you know, doing a lot except for going from place to place to place to place. I had that problem with the Bad Batch as well, because it's just like, oh, where are they gonna go next? Where are they gonna go next? Where, you know, when does it end? So it's kind of like the chasing stops when finally the good guy says, okay, enough is enough. Now, not only that, but I just don't find third sister compelling as a character and as a villain. I don't know if it's her hot-headedness, and, you know, that I say it like her acting out doesn't have the same weight as when we see someone like Darth Vader or Kylo Ren be ruthless, right? Like when Darth Vader gets angry and force chokes a guy, that's, you know, that's like, oh my God. Or, you know, when Kylo Ren, even when he throws his little tantrum and, you know, cuts everything up, it's like, oh my God, is he okay? But there's something, I don't know, I feel like as annoyed with third sister as her superiors, and it just hasn't been doing it for me. In addition to the fact that even though Moses Ingram, wonderful actor when I saw her in Queen's Gambit, but I'm sorry, I don't think she has it to play a villain. She's not really selling the villainess to me, and that is also just has been tanking that side of the show. Maybe there's a little bit of irony here, and, you know, maybe you can say it parallels with the naivete of her character, you know, like, well, you really don't have what it takes to be a villain, so maybe just, you know, chill your jets here. But yeah, I'm hoping that as the episodes progress, she becomes a little more compelling, and you know, as we deep dive into her link with Obi-Wan Kenobi, because they are building something there. They are, you know, they're like, why do you have it out for Kenobi? Why do you want to find him so much? And she's like, you know, he owes me something, or something like that. I think right now the obvious, if I were to theorize, and I think a lot of people are kind of with this, is like, okay, she was, you know, Inquisitors are force sensitive people, you know, who just went over to the dark side. So I'm assuming she was a Padawan at the Jedi Temple, you know, around the same time that Obi-Wan Kenobi was there. And, you know, possibly she was gonna be a Padawan of his and he was too busy, and, you know, she felt hurt and betrayed by that, or something like that. Or potentially, you know, maybe he had to turn her down because he was too attached to Anakin. The Jedi can't form attachments, by the way. But, you know, maybe she was a little bit jealous as well. Like, oh, you know, I really look up to Obi-Wan Kenobi and I would love for him to be my Jedi Master, but unfortunately he's tied up in Anakin and even Ahsoka and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, but it's reminding me of that one video where this guy went up to one of the Paul brothers. I don't know if it was Logan or the other one. He's like, hey, do you mind if you'll give me a job? And it's like, you're just gonna cold ask him for a job like that? He's an important man. Not really, but you know, a very busy man. You can't always just go up to people and expect that of them now. I mean, well, if I had asked Obi-Wan Kenobi to be my Jedi Master and he turned me down, I would probably also be upset, but I wouldn't dwell on it like that, you know? So it's like either that or, you know, it's reminding me of my favorite movie where another character also said he owes me something. It's like, he owes you, and then it's like, because he's my father. 100% sure that's not the case here, but I'm like, okay, I'm having some major flashbacks right now. And okay, also talking about the connection between, to Anakin Skywalker. I don't know why, y'all, it never occurred to me that Obi-Wan Kenobi would not have known that Anakin was alive. I mean, truly, the last he saw of Anakin was him, burning to a crisp on Mustafar, and, then he peaced out, so... I don't know, I guess I was like, oh yeah, maybe he did know that. Maybe he did legitimately think he was dead. And that moment though, really, man, that was wow, to see Obi-Wan Kenobi's face, and Ewan McGregor really, talking about good acting, Ewan McGregor really sold that WTF shock moment when he found out. And that just really got me. And of course to hear, okay, seeing Darth Vader in the back to tank, probably bought it off of Boba Fett. But to hear his breathing, I know they really wanted to get you hyped at the end of that episode, and yeah, it did it for me very shamelessly. It did it for me. So it's got me wondering, will we be seeing more of Darth Vader in episode 3? Because that will take us to halfway in the series. Coming up this week, guys, which is whoa. And then as well, it's got me excited because I'm like, okay, well, what is this showdown or what is this reunion going to be like between Obi-Wan and Anakin? Just because they, we thought episode 4 was the first time they had seen each other, as in A New Hope, and now we're kind of rewriting history, and it's just going to be, I'm sure, all the more emotional and dramatic. And in addition, I hope that we do get to see some behind the curtain stuff with Vader, specifically how we saw when in the sequel series when Kylo Ren was struggling with the dark side and struggling with his pull to the light. So I wonder if we will see some of that with Vader as well. Okay, so that was a lot. Time for me to ramble off some of my other favorite moments, or other favorite things that caught me. Number 1, this big thing, Qui-Gon Jinn, come on, Chekhov's gun, right? Mentioning him, twice now, and everyone asking Liam Neeson months and months prior, are you returning Star Wars? Are you returning Star Wars? So we gotta have Qui-Gon Jinn come back in this series. If he doesn't, I'm gonna be really disappointed. That would just be lazy, horrible writing at this. So let's fingers crossed for a Qui-Gon Force Ghost, because I think he's gonna show up. I also like the Order 66 flashback, or kind of a new flashback scene that we got. It just shows that some of the younglings did survive. Anakin didn't slaughter them all, and of course, we know Grogu survived, but I think that's neither here nor there. He still has his own story to tell, and we'll leave that to Favreau and Filoni. The homeless storm clone trooper, getting excited about that, but I did scream. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a clone trooper. It's Tamura Morrison. That was really exciting to me to see in episode 2. Speaking of being in that city, Dayu, I really enjoyed that. It was nice to get away from Tatooine, because we're starting to see a lot of it between The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, so that was really nice and refreshing to have, a cool cityscape. I really enjoyed that, and I hope, maybe we'll be getting some more diversity within our Star Wars locations. And Dayu's number 1 resident, whoever the heck Kumail Nanjiani played, the scam artist Jedi, I had to give it up to them. He was hilarious. Kumail Nanjiani is just very talented. He even saved Eternals for me, which was kind of low on my, ratings list, but I was so happy to see him in this. And I just got to give it up to Natalie Holt, who does the score for Obi-Wan Kenobi. She did the score and theme for Loki, or whatever, but the theme for Obi-Wan, especially in the end credits, is so beautiful. So I'm really loving that. Oh my gosh, so we still have 4 episodes to go. It's a good chunk. I'm hoping that eventually maybe the runner chaser narrative gets flipped and we have something more exciting, because where do we go from here? Of course, we know Leia is gonna have to make it home safe. We're gonna have to have Obi-Wan meet Vader, and eventually there will be some sort of reveal about Reva and Obi-Wan and whatever their backstory was. Like I said, I would maybe like to see a little bit more Kid Luke, but I understand if they want to keep Leia and have her be the focus of this. And one last point, the Grand Inquisitor, he's not dead, right? We've all seen Rebels, or Rebels. He ain't dead, so I don't know what's going on there, but maybe he will come back in a couple episodes as well and be just like super pissed off at Reva. Like, what did you do to me? So I know this was a big video. We had to cover 2 episodes in one. I think I covered everything, but guys, let me know how you felt about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the first 2 episodes. Are you as hooked as I am? Because quite honestly, I wanted to rewatch episodes 1 and 2 over again, like as soon as they were over. I was like, I want more. But as well, we are going through a lot of Star Wars news right now. I mean, we're in the middle of Star Wars Celebration. At least right now, I'm filming this on Saturday. There have been a lot of cool reveals going on this week, so I will do a recap video of that when we get into the week. And I'm super excited to talk about all of the new Star Wars stuff. Oh, I also got this from Barnes & Noble. I just had to. This cover looks so awesome. But hey, I think you will want to check out my recap of the first day of Star Wars Celebration, which was Thursday. It was the Lucasfilm Showcase. There was a lot of good stuff that they talked about there, so head on over to that video and be sure to subscribe for more, because we're going to be reviewing Obi-Wan Kenobi every week, and I think it's going to be a good one. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.